What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans, or fan, or nobody? Who knows who shows up today? I just scheduled this show, threw it up basically live right when I put it on. Little bit hectic today. Kind of just got lost in the weeds. A little bit of data cleanup on May 1st here. Just making sure we were good on the back end and cleaning up some things I had where I had to put my thumb on the scale and forgot to go back and take it away again and make sure everything was right. So just wandered off on that. Not actually lost in the weeds. Not like working on a joint file for the THC Corporation or anything like that, like they say. But we've got a lot to go through. It's an 11-game slate, and we don't have a ton of time. So this is going to be a little lightning roundy. I think the way I'm going to do it, we'll go through the normal runs board here, breakdown. I'll go through the pitching slate like normal. And then what I think I'll do is I'll put up the top stacks, and we'll just kind of take a look at all the top stacks. I will go game by game and just go like, these guys, not those guys kind of a thing, but I'm going to try and do this quickly. Projections for hockey, projections for basketball are already done. They're up on the site. Didn't want to shortchange anybody there. That cost me another half hour. Previously, I had tried to do those after the show, and it just got a little bit too rushed. So I think we're better off this way. But let us dive in. We do have a little bit of a quorum in the chat. Colin's here. Larry's here. Cujo's here. Love to see it. Appreciate you guys. Absolutely rock. Had some people asking after me to make sure we got the show done in Discord today, which is great. Love the community. You appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel as we get started here. 8.5 run total in the Bronx. Cade Povich against Will Warren. Povich, young, up-and-coming lefty. We've seen some lefties frustrate the Yankees to take a little bit of the power edge off the Yankees, but we still got monster upside for the Bombers today. Guys like Aaron Judge closing in on doubling the magic number. He was like 7.6% per Fangraphs to hit a home run. So pretty significant upside for him. Yanks ranked like third in the stacks board at 4.90. The Orioles are showing a little bit of power upside against Will Warren, but he's been tremendous to start the season, leading the league in called strikeouts. Colin saying it was him that was after me to get the show scheduled. Appreciate it, bud. Really do. John Hansa's here. Good to see you, man. All you guys on a Friday afternoon. Going to the Yankees game tomorrow during the afternoon. Got to see what the slate looks like. Either way, you guys will have all the projections and everything as usual. But looking forward to a Yanks-O's game. So the Orioles are showing some home run upside, some power upside, but just a 3.70 implied total, kind of mid-board type team as far as the offense. But I did let them have a little bit. I didn't knock them all the way down to really reflect the Vegas total as much as I might have. The Astros are in Fenway facing a rookie whose name I don't have all the pitching game logs assembled. This is this kid's debut. And his name is Jake Bennett, another lefty coming up for the Red Sox, making this start. So kind of maybe sort of intriguing for the Astros, I think, at a 4.40 implied total. The Red Sox answering back at a 4.69 against scuffling Mike Burrows, who hasn't been quite where we want him, but I think there's a lot of underlying reasons to like Mike Burrows in the long term. Maybe not today, but maybe it knocks the Sox down a slight tick from where other people might have them. Bennett in the minors has not shown a lot of upside, a lot of acumen for getting the strikeout, but he's very good at limiting runs. He's been again, through the minors, has been very good at limiting runs, has been a good pitcher, but not a big strikeout guy. So a little bit of impact there if you're going to let a team like the Astros connect with the baseball. The Phillies and the Marlins. The Phillies are going up against Jody Perez. It's the second start of the season for Zach Wheeler on the bump for the Phillies. Wheeler leading the slate or close to it in projections. A lot of premium pitching to work with today, but that's a great matchup for him against the Marlins. Wouldn't sleep on Jody Perez, though. A little bit of offense showing for the Phils in terms of the home run column. Top three hitters above the magic number in Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Adolis Garcia. No Trey Turner, if memory serves. I only glanced at the lineup as I was grabbing the confirmed version. But definitely a little back and forth situation there with Phillies bats. 4.13 implied total kind of reflects some of that. Jittery on the wrong day can definitely lose some guys, give away some free chances as well. I don't love the idea of going on the Marlins. Nearly a 4-run total. There are some frisky bats on that team, but Wheeler, when he's going right, and seemed to be going pretty well on the first outing, looks pretty good on the mound. The Rays and the Giants in Tampa Bay. 3.49 implied total for the Giants going up against Shane McClanahan. The one issue that you get with Shane O'Mac there is a little bit of a short outing concern. 5 innings is typically about all we're going to see. I gave him the full 5 and a little bit. He projects out great, but the warning with Shane Mack, and we'll talk about it again when we get to the pitching board, is going to be that there's not a lot of meat on the bone beyond what you see there. It's kind of this is about what you're going to get, but a fairly reliable premium starter. The Giants have Robbie Ray on the bump. That's pushing a 4.09 implied total with the associated power that goes with facing Robbie Ray toward the Rays. Junior Caminero is at 15, 16 something in the home run model. He was another guy that was 7+ in the FanGraph sims. It's an up and down kind of a team overall and not a great run total, but it wouldn't shock me if they got to Robbie Ray. Simultaneously, wouldn't shock me if Robbie Ray had an okay, somewhat effective strikeout-laden start. The Blue Jays, the Twins, 4.28 implied total for the Blue Jays, 4.31 implied for those frisky Twins. They get to face Patty Corbin. It's Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound for the Twins. I think that's a both-sided situation for offense. The Blue Jays entirely playable up and down. George Springer back. Definitely an interesting enough team. But the Twins, probably the spot where the Twins go completely bust because they're facing a lefty that we want to target. When they've been facing the excellent lefties, they've gone off like crazy. So who knows? It's Pat Corbin for 7 innings of shutout baseball with 12 strikeouts today, probably. But we love the look of the Twins here. Home run pick of the day coming from the Minnesota Twins, and it might not be who you actually think. Dodgers and the Cards, 4.84 implied total for the Dodgers. They look fantastic against Matthew Liberatore, who has not come through in any way, shape, or form with the improvements we were hoping for in a small sample so far. Maybe he finds it as the season goes along, but a low strikeout, soft tossing kind of a guy that I think we could grab some Dodgers bats against. 3.76 implied for the Cards. They're going up against Emmett Sheehan. He looks tremendous on this slate. We just saw those Cardinals push 9 strikeouts in 5 innings toward Paul Skeens. Pat myself on the back for predicting the 9 strikeouts correctly. What I didn't see coming was the runs against Paul Skeens, a couple of them unearned, but obviously a bumpy start there. I see a decent start here for Emmett Sheehan. Definitely strikeout upside. He's got premium stuff. It's been a little bit bumpy to start the season, but the talent's there. The total's there to support it. I like Sheehan and the Dodgers bats here. Braves at Coors Field, definitely an interesting spot. We're going to get Spencer Strider back over the weekend for the Braves, but making his debut in Coors Field on Sunday is going to be interesting to see how he lands, but excited to get Spencer Strider back. But for tonight, 6.04 implied for the Braves. Definitely an appealing spot going up against Jose Quintana. And then going back the other way, 4.59 implied, not the greatest total in the world for the Rockies, going against Grant Holmes. A gettable enough middle of the road type of a pitcher. What the Rockies aren't really showing, somewhat surprisingly, is power. They're a little bit down the board for power today. Not that Coors Field is the go-to spot for home run hitting necessarily. It's slightly above average in terms of park factors. You get everything else out of Coors Field plus a decent spot to hit home runs, but doubles, triples, etc. It's massive because of that giant ballpark. The Braves are getting all of everything. They're showing 3 guys, I believe, above the magic number against Quintana. So maybe a little bit of Grant Holmes playing into that. Maybe a little bit of just some lackluster bats as we go down that Rockies lineup, but a little bit less power than they've been showing in recent spots. So kind of intrigued by that. The Mets at the Angels. The Angels are showing a ton of power upside. They're going against Christian Scott. Scott, a decent locator, but not a big-time strikeout pitcher, control command type of a pitcher. And if you're going to let this Angels team make that much contact, I like their upside to at least find a couple homers. It's a 4.39 implied total. It might not equal one of those spots where they're sequencing ahead of the home runs. They get out to a huge, and really a giant lead and really blow up Christian Scott. Might just be a case where it's, a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and not much else. But I do like their upside for power. I think they'd be a great source of small stacks, one-offs, and they're an intriguing full stack as well. They rank up the board fairly decently. On the other side, Mets, 4.72 implied. They're going up against, I forget, who's pitching for the Angels? I shouldn't have clicked on the White Sox game if I wanted the answer to that question. Walter Urena, that's right. That's why I didn't remember. Pretty empty couple of starts so far, 11 1/3, 5.13 xFIP, a 10% strikeout against a 16% walk. I think we can get to some Mets there. Good spot for sequencing, some power showing up and down the lineup too. You got Soto as the obvious guy, but then a bunch of 7s and 8s in here. So the Mets factor in pretty effectively on this slate. I don't know why I'm clicking through that. I'm trying to go over here. Last 3 on the board. The White Sox going into Petco, 3.69 implied total for them. I don't really love that spot. 4.40 implied on the Padres side. I like that total, but I'm not too interested in it. I think it might be a little bit high. They're going up against Noah Schultz, premium up-and-comer for this White Sox team. He's made 3 starts so far, striking out nearly 30% at the major league level. He's just had an issue with walks in the first couple. Pitched to a 3.52 ERA, right around 4 on the xFIP and Sierra. I think, we do have a situation where he'll give away too many free passes, but pitcher-friendly park, not the greatest lineup in the world when we consider the Padres. I kind of like the looks of maybe a sneaky Noah Schultz, but if not, and that would be a DraftKings mostly play at 85. He's 94 on FanDuel. I don't know that leads me to Padres bats. Ederman Marquez on the mound for the Pods has actually been a little bit effective, not really finding the strikeouts, so not really a great DFS option, but maybe the potential to keep the White Sox to around a 3.5 type total as presented there by Vegas. Guardians at Sutter to face the Athletics. That's an intriguing spot on both sides. Guards showing some power. Mix and match guys up and down the lineup for Cleveland in a lot of spots, but definitely an effective spot. 4.74 implied total on the other side of that for the Athletics. They're going up against Joey Cantillo, and the Athletics have JT Ginn on the mound. So 2 somewhat effective pitchers, 4-5 type starters with a little bit of strikeout acumen. Ginn came out of his last start early. He was going along fairly well. So we got to give him a little bit of consideration for that. Supposedly totally healthy. It was a shoulder thing, but came out of it fine. Cantillo, a decent enough starter with some strikeout acumen on the other side. So maybe it's not one that absolutely rockets to the top for offense, but both these teams are leaning offense friendly in the offense friendly park. And then we round things out with the Royals at the Mariners. Best pitchers park in baseball. 3.26 implied on the Royal side, going up against Brian Wu. Absolutely tremendous spot to grab some Wu shares. Going back the other way, 3.81 implied, 3.82 implied for the Mariners, going up against Cole Ragans. Tremendous. Ragans kind of got it all back together in his last start. I like him to go on a run here of competent starts, and this is a very good spot for him. So a couple pitchers up at the top of our board that is completely unsorted right now. There they are. There's Wu, there's Ragans, but Mr. Wheeler pulling out a little bit ahead. You're talking about minor fractions of a point between those 3 guys. That is a tremendous tier of aces. Not too far behind, but separated by a couple few points on both sides. Emmett Sheehan against those cards, Robbie Ray, and then we hit McClanahan, and we'll use him as a cut line. I think that's a very, very good tier. Wheeler, Wu, Ragans, I don't think there's any question those are your top 3 guys, but I would include Sheehan for the pricing, especially at 87 on both sides, in that top group. I'm not saying he's the same as those top 3 guys. They're a tier on their own, but Sheehan and Ray are kind of a tier right there as well. I don't love Ray for the erratic nature of his starts, for the power that he allows, and just some of those opposing bats are really good at potentially exploiting what Robbie Ray does poorly. Guys like Johnny Diaz, who will just be on base all game, plus power from the right side. Junior, obviously, with his power from the right side. I wish Ray was a little bit cheaper because the strikeout upside can obviously come from Robbie Ray, and he can just be tremendous and dominate any team. He does have true ace upside. He is a number 1 starter. Once we pass Ray, we get McClanahan here, and I think McClanahan, despite where he appears on the board, is correctly priced at $8,000 and $8,200. I think also he's probably either just on his own kind of floating there, or maybe he's the start of another tier where you work in some of the danger that some of the pitchers are facing. The issue with McClanahan, not that I don't think he can blaze through this Giants team a couple times over, is going to be that we're dealing with about 5 innings. Starts this year for McClanahan. He's completed the 5th twice, and that's it. He's pitched into the 5th in 2 of his other starts, 4 1/3, 4 2/3, and he had a 4-inning start. Handful of strikeouts in every game, including 7 strikeouts the last time out against the Twins. That was a 3-hit shutout he was working on. He walked 2, but they're just not giving him a lot of leash in these starts. So I think you look at this as, okay, fair projection for the money. Probably even playable SP2 on DraftKings, but maybe pricey for what you're going to get. But on DK, at least if he gets the 5 and his team's ahead in a reasonable expectation that they might be ahead, I might be able to pick off the win bonus as well. You could get the win bonus on FanDuel, of course, but the quality start is going to kick you in the ass on that one, I think. And you really don't have much ceiling beyond these projections. That is a 5-inning projection for McClanahan. He looked great for those 5. But the lack of a sixth, the lack of a potential pitching into the seventh is really going to hamper his upside. Love Will Warren. He is knocked back slightly by the power that the Orioles are showing. Yankee Stadium, interesting overall. Park factor right on the line. But power obviously plays way, way up in Yankee Stadium. He's excellent, but I like the O's to put at least a couple runs on him for while he's in there. So I think right around where he's at. And for the money on FanDuel, I don't love that. 89 on DraftKings, I think he works a little bit more effectively, right around a 15 with upside 2 at 20. No issues with Will Warren on DK. A throwable play on FanDuel for sure. And the hope there would be that the 97 by comparison to no $10,000 pitcher, Woo at 99. Wheeler, people might not be trusting to be able to pitch deep since it's only his second start back at 9,000. Ray at 95 is your next most expensive guy, 94, but down here for Noah Schultz, who people aren't going to trust. I do think that maybe it renders Will Warren popular, but then where do people, or unpopular rather, but then where are people going with it? So like just in a vacuum, that price probably should push people off of Will Warren, but with no obvious guy to dunk it into, maybe not. Perez, plenty of upside for the money. Looks pretty good. 85, 8,000 against the Phillies. Can find some strikeout, and if he's going right, can blaze a trail through that team. So I do like Jody Perez, but it would probably be a little back and forth. Not a direct, 1-to-1 for hedge stacks by any means, but for every 3 Yuri shares that I had, I would probably want a Philly stack in some other lineup. And then we hit another big cut line there. Right? These are, even with the 3 guys I just talked to, even with McClanahan 5 innings, I do think that those guys in that group are separated from this next group of guys, which probably does trend down through Joey Cantillo. Jin and Cantillo on opposite sides of that tier and on the opposite sides of that game, not actually separated by much. It's a 1.5 on either site. So really, you're picking favorites there. And if I'm picking favorites there, I'm probably not taking the 2 guys that are pitching in the minor league park. So yeah, Jin, very inexpensive, does have a little bit of strikeout upside, facing a mixed bag of an opponent with some of their better players kind of struggling, but it's still showing more offense to me in that game. Burrows, you just got to believe. He's got an excellent changeup. The stuff is somewhat working. We're going to take a look at him. Don't love the situation with the Sox pulling the total that they're pulling in a game at Fenway, but 7,000. There's at least intriguing price-based upside in Mike Burrows, and he's going to put it back together. I'm kind of interested. In the 5 lineups that I think I'm going to play on FanDuel tonight, I wouldn't be shocked if I end up on a Burrows-based lineup there, and that buys you a lot, especially on that FanDuel slate. That 7,500 does buy you quite a bit. Povich would really have to find the strikeout upside against the Yanks, but that is in the cards. He's a talented lefty. Yanks can struggle with left-handed pitching. They can also struggle with the strikeout. What I don't like for him is the immediate downside of the big knock. 3-4 runs can definitely bend a outing, even at those prices. And if he gets through 5 and then he's in trouble in the 6, I think it's going to be a relatively quick hook in Yankee Stadium. They don't want to break the kid's brain. Schultz is just overpriced on FanDuel. He's very talented. He's also gigantic. If you haven't seen him pitch, he essentially blocks home plate when he pitches. Somebody was complaining about that the other day on Twitter. It was pretty funny. But it's true. The dude is, what is he, 6'10" something? This is what we need to be looking up on a lightning round show. Noah Schultz is 6'10", 240. Big dude. Big lefty. All the talent in the world. No reason to think that he can't do well in this start at Petco. But the Pods pulling that total that they are, and him at that price on FanDuel, really not a great mix. 85 on DraftKings. We just went through a lot of guys that are cheaper. I do think he's got the upside to pay off that price, but it's not all that friendly. What you probably get is Noah Schultz pretty low owned, which does have its intriguing points. Again, 28 and change % strikeout rate in his first 3 outings. So not nothing. Edman Marquez, you're just looking for him to get pitched, 5 clean innings, maybe as an SP2 dart at 6,300. There's just not a ton of strikeout upside, even with the swing and miss nature of some of those White Sox and some of those guys that swing and miss when they do connect, send the baseball into the next county. So I don't love the Edman Marquez spot. Similarly, Kristen Scott, with all the contact he's going to feed to those Angels, again, just looking at some of that Angels upside for power, but 6,200. If he finds his way through 5-6 clean innings, maybe he pays the bills a little bit. And then Cantillo on the other side of that Sutter home game, he is probably the better of those two pitchers, even though it projects the other way. That's just giving the Athletics a little credit for who they are. 74, not a terrible price to find Joey Cantillo. He does have strikeout upside. On the right day, you could maybe get there, but we've got a lot of guys that on the right day could get there who are priced about the same, who aren't pitching in a minor league park. Grant Holmes at Coors Field, a little difficult to see. 77-72. At least he's priced correctly. 6 innings of relatively clean ball. Not out of the question. The Rockies not cracking the 5-run total. So maybe. This guy I'm just targeting, but he's been pitching okay. If you're just looking to roster a pitcher who's going to pitch okay against one of our favorite stacks of the day, 67 is not a bad price to do as an SP2. I don't think you go near Patrick Corbin on FanDuel. Woods Richardson, no. Liberatore, no. Bennett, probably not. For one, he's at 75 on DraftKings. 55 on FanDuel, probably not, just given the nature of the Astros, the nature of who he is as a starter, or at least who it looks like he is. Low strikeout, decent but low strikeout locator type. I don't know if I really like that even at 55, and probably get him through 5 and change and he's out of the game. So not a ton of ceiling there. Urena, no against the Mets, and Quintana at Coors Field against those red hot Braves. Absolutely not. How's my driving? Where would I insert Mizurowski on that scale if he was on the slate? So these are the projections for these games. It's not really like a talent scale, but Mizurowski's absurdly talented. I have not looked at that game. He's facing the Nats. Yeah, that's easily your best pitcher on that 3-game slate. Major source of strikeout upside. 2 threatening hitters for him in that Nationals lineup with James Wood and CJ Abrams to a degree, a couple of the other guys, but major upside spot for Mizurowski. He's easily the best pitcher on that slate. That was 68. Slapjack asking that one. Appreciate you, buddy. Always drop those questions in, even if they are about different slates. I will do my best to answer them. Just also trying to get through this one. 5-10. I am trying to punch us out by 6. We'll see how we do. If you weren't here at the very beginning, bunch of people here watching. Appreciate you. We're going to do a little bit of a lightning round through the 11 games here. We're going to talk. Let me grab the stacks board. No real weather spots to be concerned with, by the way. Roth doesn't have anything of concern on this one. So let me grab the stacks board here. We'll give that one away. Everything's available to you at rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day, all in pricing for anything that hits that website across all 4 major sports. There we go. All right, so the first thing you'll notice, despite this 12 ranking by Vegas for their implied total, Twins 5th by points, 4th by value on FanDuel, 5th, 2nd on the DraftKings slate, 8th by power. We're getting our home run pick of the day out of the Minnesota Twins, going up against Patty Corbin, just one of our ongoing targets. Middle of the board on a good day type lefty. And just with the way that team's been getting to some of the best lefties in baseball, just with the upside that's coming through the model for them, I left them alone. I like where the Twins are at on this board. And again, the home run pick's coming from that one. Atlanta, of course, feel kind of obvious at the top of the board against Quintana there. Dodgers, Yanks, again, couple of obvious teams. What you note on the Dodgers, obviously, is the 11th ranked by value. They are still difficult to reach. The Braves come up a little bit better as a value rating, even playing at Coors Field. So you've just got some extreme high pricing on the Dodgers on the DraftKings slate. Middle of the board as far as the power goes, 7th and 5th. The Sutter game, you get the Athletics right there. You do get a bump, I would say, for the Guardians compared to a lot of the days where we find them. They're 3rd ranked by Vegas total. They hit 8th on both sites by projection, a little bit better than that for value against Jin. Plenty of upside in going to some of the Guardians bats. I do like where the Astros fall, but I don't love their value rating. Solid home run spot going up against that young lefty who's going to allow some contact. The Mets just kind of speak for themselves going up against Lorena in that spot. And then we kind of go down the board. The Phils, I think, are worth at least a mention, especially for that second by value. That lineup is a little bit different than the one that this was built against with no Trey Turner in it. But they should hold strong around that. So we'll take a look at the Phillies for some of that value that they're showing. The Angels stand out for that first-ranked home run rating. And this is where, again, really interesting. The Rockies, 11th but 19th, 11th but 17th. More impacted by the value because their prices are kind of up because they've actually been okay than the Braves are. They're also knocked way down in the power index today. It's a weird day for the Rockies. The Red Sox are a little intriguing for value. They do have a couple of home run upside bats like Willie Abreu showing decent numbers. It's an up and down kind of a lineup. And then the Orioles pop for the home run upside, but like nothing else on this board. Everybody else down the board here, you can see where the model has the Padres against Noah Schultz. Part of the reason I'm not so excited about that Padres total, they were just knocked down the board here. They're 9th overall by Vegas total, but model doesn't really like them at all. A little bit of home run upside for a couple of the obvious guys because there's a lefty on the mound. But not much coming out of that. You've got problems with the home run hitting there with Fernando Tatis blasting everything the opposite way. And then the bottom, kind of just the teams that we usually find lurking down there or the teams just facing the best pitchers of the day. So here are your Orioles that are showing a little bit of power upside. You got 3 guys above the magic number. Another couple guys closing in on it. Sammy Vasallo is really interesting if you're building on DraftKings at 3,900. I do think that's just a left-handed catcher that you could throw into some lineups, even if you're not stacking up Orioles, and just take a swing at Yankee Stadium. You do have Adley for a little bit more money. He's been hitting the ball very effectively this season. 4 home runs on the board, fantastic slash line, a 196 WRC plus as well. We know that Yankee Stadium can feed offense. We know that competitive AL East games in Yankee Stadium can fuel DFS scoring and everything. Nothing actually projectable or actionable there. But it wouldn't shock me if the Orioles overperform that 370 implied total. Just one of those days in the Bronx kind of a thing. But nothing I don't think you want to go chase outside of where the models may be showing a little bit of power. The Orioles are stackable, but it's really a 5-man here. And then anybody down this way, one-offs, one-ofs. Mix and match your way through those guys. The quality's up at the top. Taylor Ward struggling with the power, but a solid slash line. You're getting plenty of power out of Gunnar, but not a great slash line. Pete Alonso kind of caught in between all of that. 4 home runs, terrible slash line for him, but I like Alonso to put the pieces together, and at least he's hitting the ball squarely. On the Yankee side, they're one of the top 3 stacks of the day, 490 implied total, one of the best marks by Vegas. Aaron Judge at an 18.43 in the home run model against a inexperienced young lefty kind of speaks for itself. Cade Povich, again, talented. But over the last couple seasons, it's been a struggle to find it at the major league level. 112 and the third in 20 starts last year at a 5.21 ERA, sub 4 xFIP, just around a 4 Sierra. Again, these are better indicators of who he actually is on the mound, but a lot of barrels allowed. We're over the line for barrels, hard hits, and exit velo last year. Probably lucky to be under 4% home runs. Was better at limiting premium contact in 2024 in his 16 outings, 79 and 2/3. Wasn't finding the strikeout in the same way, though. Was still walking too many guys. 5.20 ERA, around a 5 exit. So he did improve notably year over year. If we're just looking at the under the surface numbers, the xFIP and Sierra, growing into his own, coming into his own at the major league level. This year, one very good start already in the books, 6 and change. Let me just give it to you. Don't have my usual game by game notes here, but 6 and 2/3 in the last outing in a full start against the Giants. 1 earned run, 5 hits, struck out 5. First outing of the year was 5 and 2/3 in bulk relief. That was against the Pirates at Pittsburgh. 2 earned runs, 4 hits, only struck out 2, walked 3 in that game. Just didn't really put all the pieces together. But again, a talented kid, might be able to find some strikeout upside. Yanks striking out 21.7% each of the last 2 seasons with this version of the lineup, 23.9 year before. Against lefties as an active roster, 23.4% strikeout rate. Left-handed pitcher might have a little ability to cut into power as well. Ben Rice, 10.57 in the model, but knocked down slightly for the kind of contact he's going to be able to get today. Cody Bellinger, a little bit limited, not by lefty situations, but it does cut into the power slightly. The quality is always there with Cody lefty, though. You can absolutely play Ben Rice and Cody Bellinger like you would with anybody on the mound against this lefty. No issue whatsoever. Paul Goldschmidt in the leadoff spot. We're looking for Goldie to succeed against the left-handed pitcher. He's basically relegated to a platoon role these days. In the 33 plate appearances that he's had, mostly against left-handed pitching, solid barrel, solid hard hit rate in a tiny sample of batted ball events. Not much to show for it. He did put one into the seats. A 405 xWOBA in those outings, though, under a 326 actual. Kind of intriguing. I don't think Goldie's entirely done yet, and he's awfully cheap, but you do get him as a blocker to Ben Rice, unfortunately, on DraftKings. You can get them both easily on FanDuel. Ahmed Rosario's found a ton of success against lefties this season, 263, 302, 526, 4 home runs on the board. Kind of a wild card guy at a very fair price to mix into second base. You've got multi-position on both sites. Second or third, either way is totally fine. What you probably don't want, even with a lefty on the mound, is to skip Jazz Chisholm Jr. all that often. Jazz scuffling to get at it to get his season going, but he's found the power a little bit. He's starting to hit the ball effectively. He's starting to get good swings in. So I love the rising tide for Jazz, 9.63 in the home run model today. Bottom of the Yankees lineup with Caballero, Trent Grisham, who's been scuffling and typically in and out of the lineup at best against lefties, maybe takes a little bit of a bite there. And Austin Wells, you're just looking for one good batted ball event from the affordable catcher. Yanks, definitely intriguing. Wouldn't knock me out of my chair if Povich was okay, though. Yankees bats, Will Warren. Baltimore bats, Cade Povich. Come on. Give you guys a little bit more screen there. Schultz is Randy Johnson Jr. We'll see. I mean, obviously, I know you're talking about like the physical stature, but he is regarded as a premium talent. So maybe he gets there talent-wise too. Hopefully not the same level of bird destruction. So the Astros, kind of interesting to me. Again, this Bennett kid is going to allow some contact to happen here. And when we get that, guys like Jordan Alvarez kind of sing, Carlos Correa at the top spot, Christian Walker certainly, Isaac Paredes in this ballpark. Let's see what he looks like. My suspicion is that it's going to be mostly doubles upside for Paredes here. Come on. Yep. Cuts into his power a little bit. Obviously, there's a 40-foot wall in left field. So a little bit of issue for the home run upside, but Paredes still in play, and he can bang a double off of that, off the monster pretty effectively. So I wouldn't take him out of my stacks. 39 at third base is pretty fair. That's a position you want to fill with a quality guy, and he's hitting up lineup with support all around him from quality. So if this team gets to Bennett, I like the upside for Paredes to be involved at a pretty cheap price. Carlos Correa at 41 at 32 is also really affordable. And again, I love the ability to plunk him at third base on FanDuel. What I don't probably want to do is go Correa at third and then Paredes at util. That's probably a waste of resources. So what we want to do is go back and forth between the two. Or if we want to have them both, I think it's Correa. We'll take shortstop with Correa and we'll put Paredes at third. You don't, I think, want to occupy your util spot that way, just for the nature of how things are going to click together on FanDuel. But overall, we're probably taking one or. We definitely want Jordan. And I think we want Walker and probably going to fill second base or even an outfield spot with Jose Altuve. You have plenty of quality down the lineup, though. If you're going outfield, Cam Smith is definitely a consideration. 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases. The slash line is kind of plummeted, but he's got a lot more skill than the slash line showing right now. 348 xWOB under a 315 actual. Tons of premium contact going up against an inexperienced lefty who's going to allow him to make that contact. Love the upside for Cam Smith. So I don't think we want to sleep on him too much. If you're building on DraftKings, Yannick Diaz is still really important. Cheap. $3,300 catcher. 250, 268, 359. The on base skills haven't really come through because he's just not finding BABIP. But the strikeout, the walk, typically his usual, mid-teens, low on the walk rate, putting balls in play, just hasn't found the barrel that much. But when we get there, there is major upside for the pricing that he lands at now. If they're going to be a productive offense today, I like him to at least be an effective cog in the machine. So definitely in play, especially on DraftKings, less so on FanDuel because I do want Christian Walker. I do want to have that util spot to flex around. But if I'm building 10 Astros stacks, then he would be in a couple of them at least. Bryce Matthews and Dustin Harris, just kind of mix and matchy guys down the bottom. I blew past Christian Walker. I've referenced him a few times, but he's making great contact. Strikeouts back down where we need him. Walks kind of back up where we want him. 293, 366, 552 start, creating runs, hitting the ball hard, 7 home runs on the board. Really like the looks of Christian Walker getting his act together, even though I hate both of these teams. 469, I really like the Astros for DFS and for fantasy, but I really don't like the Astros for their cheating, garbage can banging ways from a few years back. The Red Sox are very much on the board as well. Burrows is good, though. 7,000 is a great price. 75 is also pretty effective. What I like about Burrows, and I referenced it, is that under the radar, the 6.25 ERA is an illusion. 4.14 xFIP, a 3.98 SIERA, both better indicators of future ERA. The 1.67 WHIP is an illusion. 23.1% strikeout rate has been effective enough. 8.4% walk. We want it lower, but that's not crazy problematic. So he's just getting beat by some BABIP. He's getting beat by a couple oddball home runs that don't match the contact he's given up. 7.2% barrel, 37.1% hard hit. We're well under any kind of alarm bells here. 4.90% home runs. That's happenstance. That's a couple mistakes that got out. It's not who he is. 12.9% swinging strike rate is downright intriguing. That's who Mike Burrows is. He can find strikeouts on his own. So I like the upside. This Red Sox team, 23.4%, 23.7, 29 for the guys who were in the league back there, skewed by some small sample. There's strikeout aplenty in this Red Sox lineup. 4.70 almost implied total, though. There's obviously some danger for Burrows, but I think that's maybe an overreaction to how he's been pitching. Jarren Duran up top, 44.29. All the Red Sox are fairly priced for their spot today, for getting to them at that total. But I expect that they end up being a little bit overowned because they're cheap, because they're facing a pitcher that people might be looking to target, which might be misguided. So to me, that takes me to discount Burrows a little bit over the Red Sox, but they're very involved. And that's probably closing in on like a 1-to-1 type hedge situation. For every share of Burrows, share and a half of Burrows, if you want to put it that way, make it a 3-to-2. Contreras at 4,033. Just wish he still had catcher eligibility on DK. 7 home runs on the board, hitting the ball solidly. 224 ISO, 138 WRC plus, excellent 408 xWOBA going. Roman Anthony hasn't really gotten the season in gear. We know he's quite a bit better than this. I think these 115 were worse than any 115 you could have strung together from last year. The kid's potentially elite, though. That's a very solid lefty bat. 6.82 in the home run model, knocked down slightly by the medium and weak contact that Mike Burrows induces. Willier, we love Willier around here. 8.88 in the home run model if you're into that sort of thing. Love the upside. 307, 373, 482, a 135 WRC plus, 4,200. Makes major premium contact and has for years now. Love the lefty. This is the ideal Willier Abreu spot, but he's probably going to get pretty popular. Trevor Story, solid for the money. Excellent option at shortstop. Hits the ball very hard, coming off a good year, starting out very poorly this year. Maybe he slips a little bit in popularity among people who go to the Red Sox. It's also a reasonable discounted one-off shortstop on either site if you need it. I would leave Trevor Story on that list of pretty high-quality shortstop options. Marcelo Mayer, Rafael Narvaez, and Caleb Durbin going down the lineup. 3 mix and match guys and a guy who's been one of the worst hitters in baseball to start the season. Astros, Burrows at a discount, Red Sox. How does that appear on the old board here? Yeah, Red Sox right there in the middle. Again, major source of value, though. So I think that's what skews our popularity up. And just because there's 7 on the Vegas board, there's not a ton of daylight in the between the projections. There's not a ton of daylight between their 7 and some of these other Vegas totals. Houston a little more highly ranked. I just more respect for that lineup, basically up and down, or at least 1 through 7. going up against a rookie, making his debut, a low strikeout rookie. It just, I don't know. Something about that spot kind of speaking to me. Phils, we've got the three obvious guys at the top of the Phillies lineup with power. We've got Brandon Marsh, who is very affordably priced at $3,300. That is a major bargain on DraftKings. If you need a good one-off outfielder on DK, $3,300 for Brandon Marsh, not a bad price. Cleaning up behind the big three. Going up against Jody Perez is really your only problem, but Perez right now at 24.3% strikeout. We know he's got more than that to give. 13.1% swinging strike rate is a good indicator, but he's losing a little bit to walk. Last season, he struck out 27.3 against an 8.3% walk rate. So there is more strikeout upside when he gets it together. But if you're giving the Phillies those free chances with the power upside that they've got with some of these guys and their ability to exploit the walk, I don't know. Kind of leaning into Phillies offense maybe a little bit here. And I think Jody probably, especially at price on DraftKings at 8, probably gets a little bit popular. 85 on FanDuel, easily worth playing, but it's probably a situation where I'm a little bit more interested in Phillies bats than I am in Jody Perez. And the Phillies are, even in this form, basically a 8-man lineup. Call it 7 if you want to, but I'm still leaving Alec Bohm in that conversation, even at 151, 218, 208, and 18 WRC plus. We just know Alec Bohm too well. I think he's just messed up right now, trying to do things that maybe aren't him. The strikeouts and the walks are right where they're supposed to be. It's just been a lack of quality contact. So I think he gets it figured out. I'm not crossing him off of any lists. And if I'm going to Phillies, he's at least still part of it because he's priced way down and all those struggles are baked into those prices at a third base position that is very, very thin. So I have no issues with it. Stott, playable piece. Edmundo Sosa miscast in the 5 spot in the long run, but perfectly fine any given slate. He's got multi-position eligibility for cheap prices. He's a reasonable alternative to either Stott or Bohm on DraftKings. You can play all 3 on FanDuel, but that would be a weird way to build with Phillies. You want 2 of the big 3 up here, and you know who they are, but I do still like Adolis Garcia. We've talked about him a lot. 3 home runs, 243, 320, 387. Kind of a mixed slash line, 97 WRC plus. Starting to show a little bit of quality in the ex-WOBA. Making decent contact, which is all we really care about, especially when he gets this cheap, 2,800, 2,700. The Phillies have multiple guys showing some value upside. So I do like the Phils. Marlins side, I think it's mostly about Zach Wheeler. 95, 9,000, one of the top projected pitchers of the day, a true ace. Made his return the other day, went 5 innings. All we were really concerned about with Wheeler there was the depth, and showed it. I think he's got quality into the 5th or into the 6th inning, potential to get beyond it. No issues with expecting a quality start here on FanDuel from Zach Wheeler, and he's a little bit affordable for that, 9,000. Wheeler, when going right, just one of the best run limiters in baseball. Also a good strikeout pitcher, 33.3% last season, 28.5 the year before that. 2.57 ERA with a 3.30 xFIP 2 years ago, 2.71, 2.73 last year. One of the top best pitchers in baseball, one of the top righties in baseball. If you're choosing to target Zach Wheeler, it would just be going to the Marlins because they're contrarian. They do have a near 4 implied total. They've got some, I don't know, mid-board pricing on everybody. Where did their rank value was? Yeah, it's not like they're showing any value. Those DraftKings prices are up for who they are. FanDuel, same story. Really no reason to consider Marlins. They're not showing much power because Wheeler's excellent at limiting power despite a few batted ball events in one start. If you're going there, Kyle Stowers is an absolute priority. He is their best power bat. Xavier Edwards is their best contact hitter. He's also got the acumen to steal bases, create runs. Right now, he's at a 152 WRC plus. He's been making more significant contact this year as well. They're asking him to do different things out there. Liam Hicks has been interesting to start his season, but he's not this guy in the long term. Otto Lopez, kind of the same story. Jacob Marcy, mostly here to get on base and steal bases. He's stolen 10 bags, but he's only getting on at a 300 clip. It's just not the right spot. Agustin Ramirez is a cheap catcher bat with power. Owen Casey down lineup. If I'm building with this team, I probably look 1, 2, 3 as priorities. Take one of the catchers because it's DraftKings if you're doing that, and then whoever. But really, those 3 lefties, or Edwards a switch hitter, but those 3 would probably be my priority. And Casey's a guy who just makes very good contact. 2 home runs on the board, but an empty 96 plate appearances otherwise. Young kid just getting it figured out, but a young kid against Zach Wheeler is probably extremely overmatched. Zach Wheeler, Phillies bats, Jerry Perez, and Marlins just kind of down the board. Tiz says the Yankees fan doesn't like the Sox. Surprise, surprise. No Yankees fan likes the Red Sox. Come on. I'm a non-Mets hating Yankees fan. I like the Mets. I support the Mets when they're not playing the Yanks or when they're not, going to get in the Yankees' way. A lot of Mets fans think the other way. I don't really understand Yankees fans that hate the Mets. It's rarely ever been a thing. It's rarely ever been like good at the same time or any kind of rivalry. It's just like, I get the Mets fans that hate the Yankees, a little younger brother syndrome thing going on, but I don't really get Yankees fans that hate the Mets. Same with like Giants fans that hate the Jets. Who cares? Like the Jets. You're going to pick a team in the NFL to hate and it's going to be the Jets? I think the only people that should hate the Jets are Jets fans, and they do. Giants, these Giants, San Francisco Giants, top of the board here, 349 implied total going up against Shane McClanahan. The one issue again with this game is McClanahan's short outings at 8,000. I do think he's correctly priced, but you're probably staring at simultaneously like his, median projection. But the median there doesn't know that he doesn't necessarily have the capacity to add more to it, if that makes sense. So I think you're looking at around a ceiling on Shane McClanahan with those projections, maybe a little bit more if you find some K upside. These Giants do strike out. They've been incredibly weak to start the season. They can get victimized by left-handed pitching as well. Some of their best bats left-handed. You do have quality righties in Elliot Ramos, Matt Chapman off the top. Willie Adames kind of lost right now, is a right-handed hitter in the middle of the lineup, but he hasn't exactly been challenging anybody. Plenty of strikeout upside. Not a ton of reason to roster Giants outside of just rolling some contrarian dice. They are affordable, but that's about it. Rafi Devers will eventually figure it out. Luis Arias will probably compete for a batting title, but doesn't contribute major fantasy stats. Casey Schmidt's been playing over his head. Jung Lee is a contact hitter. Arara Encarnacion, buried down the bottom of the lineup, can make good contact, hasn't over 31 plate appearances, mix and match piece, but he's very cheap if you're going to that team. The Rays are the more interesting bunch, I think. For one, you've got Junior showing a 16.18 in the home run model. Robbie Ray giving up a 12.8% barrel, feeding some of that. The hard hit, the exit velo have been fine. Usual 3.70 for Robbie Ray. He's one of these aces that does give up premium contact, that can get got with a home run ball. But typically, even with Ray, or I should say less so than the Garrett Coles of the world, will that be an event where there's nobody on base? And the issue that comes in there is Robbie Ray's walks. When Robbie Ray's going right and limiting walks, and this is wildly variable from start to start, let alone year to year, when he's limiting walks, the home runs do a lot less damage, and it's not a problem, and that's where you get mostly effective ace caliber Robbie Ray. When he's losing the walks, then the long ball leads to more run scoring, leads to more damage, shorter outings, or more pitches thrown, and it becomes a big problem for Robbie Ray, gives him more opportunity to walk another guy. So it kind of feeds the machine. 2.70 ERA, but a 4.27 xFIP, 4.11 SIERA. He's around a 4.4 and change run pitcher if we're being honest about things, with some power downside. But on the right day, he could definitely get through this team as well. 17.9% strikeout, maybe if we need a tiebreaker for these Rays so far this year. And that's a fairly realistic number, 20%, 20% each of the last 2 years. Chandler Simpson in the leadoff role, despite the lefty on the mound, honestly just needs to make accidental contact, and he's at first base. The old Willie Mays Hayes when he's going to swing for the fence. Whoops. Little dinker. He can beat that. He's faster than Willie Mays Hayes was in that movie. Junior's Junior, 16.18. He had a 7+. It was him and Aaron Judge standing tall at the top of the Fangraph Sims. Major upside for a home run ball out of Junior here. Ryan Velotti hitting third, cheap on both sites. 35 pretty good plate appearances, but we don't think that that's actually who Ryan Velotti is. We know that Johnny Diaz is as good as he's been. 330, 421, 478, 4 home runs on the board. I love his upside for power today too. If Robbie Ray makes a mistake against Johnny Diaz, it's got a good shot of ending up in the seats. And Johnny Diaz has an excellent shot of finding a walk against Robbie Ray if he's up there. Low strikeout, upper medium kind of a walk rate each of the past few seasons. Tremendous opportunity, 46-36, not unfairly priced on DraftKings, correctly priced on FanDuel. Williamson, DeLuca, Fraley, Fortes, and Walls going down the board. Mix and match pieces all. Against my better judgment, I think I am going to say Robbie Ray. Tampa bats. McClanahan, but know that that's probably a ceiling. Giants bats. Let's see, we got these lineups in. While I'm talking, Patty Corbin, one of our favorite targets over the years. He did, as we've talked about, pull it together somewhat over the past couple seasons. Not a total pincushion on the mound, but a guy we can definitely still target. 20.3% strikeout, so he's allowing plenty of contact so far this season. 3.72 ERA, around a 4 xFIP in Sierra. Too many guys on base. 9.1% barrel rate allowed, 41.8% hard hits. Just a 2.53% home run rate, but I like these Twins to change that with some of their righties. Definitely an interesting Twin squad that's been awfully frisky, especially against some of the best lefties in baseball. Corbin last year, sub 20% strikeout, plenty of premium contact on board, 3.26 home run. This is what he cleaned up a little bit. Previous season, 3.27, same story. The contact was a little bit lighter, but 46.1% hard hits, over 90 miles an hour of exit velo. That's what we're hunting for. And then going back in time further, was just a mess in 2023 and a couple seasons prior to that. Plenty of right-handed upside on the Twins, plenty of right-handed power upside on the Twins. Home run pick of the day coming from the Minnesota Twins. We love that. The Blue Jays, though, going up against Simeon Woods Richardson, easily on the board. He's not exactly lighting it up with strikeouts at 11% with a 6.9% swinging strike rate. Blue Jays, a little bit more of a contact-focused team, but they do have a couple power bats that are interesting. They're loading up some lefties down lineup to face the limited righty on the mound. No interest whatsoever in Simeon Woods Richardson as a pitcher on this slate, even cheap. I just don't think he's worth it. These Blue Jays can dink and dunk him to death, and they limit strikeout very effectively. They've got George Springer back. They've got Jesus Sanchez hitting second at 3,500. That's a silly price. Definitely a lot of reason to go to Blue Jays. Not a terrible option as a game stack, this one. I kind of like it. If you're looking at Blue Jays bats, again, Springer back in the lineup, 5,000 is correct on DraftKings, 29 little light on FanDuel, 68 week plate appearances to start the season, but he really reclaimed things last year, and he's got a lot of leash, I think, to get it figured back out. Major upside for contact, major upside for power. Sanchez, 9.2% barrel, 50% hard hit. Looks a lot like the Jesus Sanchez of the past couple years, minus a couple barrels along the way. 4 home runs on the board. The on-base leaves a lot to be desired, but he's got plenty of upside for power from the left side against a weak righty, and he's only 3,500. That's a great one-off outfielder on DraftKings, a big-time part of the stack. 356 xWOB under that 313 actual so far this season. Vladdy's a superstar at any price, and he's very affordable on FanDuel, correctly priced or more correctly priced on DraftKings. Kazuo Okamoto's underpriced at 37.28 against this pitcher. That's another lefty. He's right-handed. That's another bat with plenty of barrel rate upside. 51.4% hard hit so far in his 123 plate appearances. Smaller number of batted ball events, but they've been successful batted ball events despite the 218, 301, 373. He's hit 5 home runs, 320 xWOB under the 305, at least around league average. Striking out a lot, but also drawing some walks. It's an effective hitter who's very cheap at a key position. Varsho, you're looking for one good batted ball event from the left side. Landon Sosa's awfully cheap for a guy who hit a bunch of home runs last year. 22 of them in 544 plate appearances. Scuffling, found his way out of Chicago, part of a better lineup now. That's an intriguing hitter for the bat on ball at that price. Love him at second base on either site. Third base also works on FanDuel for 23, where you don't want Landon Sosa most of the time is first. That's kind of obvious because he would block you from getting to Vladdy if you're putting him there on DraftKings. Probably don't want him at util either on your FanDuel builds. Going down the lineup, Johendrick Pingaro at 22-21. 7 pretty good plate appearances so far. When I looked at him the other day, is it Pinagro? Excuse me, Johendrick Pinango. Thought I saw an R in there. Left-handed bat, 15 home runs, 6 stolen bases across the minors last year. That was 8 in AA ball, 7 in AAA as a 23-year-old. Kind of arriving right on time. What I like about him, low strikeout for a decent trade-off for power. Pretty high walk rates, pretty good on base option. So a guy that just kind of fits in with what the Blue Jays are looking to do from down lineup for a very cheap price. He's in play, but you're obviously spending most of your shares on the top 6. Andres Jimenez, solid mix and match piece, who's off to a decent start over 111 plate appearances. Tyler Heineman, just a cheap catcher. Going to the Twins. Byron Buxton's obvious. in the leadoff role, 14.26 in the home run model, staring you in the face. Love the power upside. He's hit 8 this season, pulling the slash line together as we go on. 252 ISO. He's got a weird 308 xWOBA under that 352 actual. Low walk rate so far. That should correct itself as time goes on. What we're really just looking for with Buxton, in addition to the excellent plate appearance total so far, knock on wood, the power upside, 15.9% barrel, 45.5% hard hit on the season. Jibes with previous years. The hard hits can go up from here. Love him for a home run, but he is not your home run pick of the day. He's just the key ingredient for stacks. Austin Martin is off to a decent start at 313, 477, 422. More hit tool oriented, not making great contact, feeding the machine a little bit, but it should probably be him leading off ahead of Byron Buxton if you're building this lineup correctly. That said, entirely playable spot. If Buxton gets up there and hits a solo shot, he can set the table for the rest of these guys. Also got the skill set to drive Buxton in if he gets to second base. Ryan Jeffers has plenty of catcher upside. 4,500 is affordable, 14.5% barrel rate. 3,400, you don't really worry about it at first base, and you can take him instead of Josh Bell. Probably don't want them both, and probably a slight lean toward Ryan Jeffers, but he's the more expensive of the two on FanDuel. 4 home runs on the board, also getting on at a 411 clip, 403 WOBA with a 386 expected underneath it, 155 WRC plus. Josh Bell's just a take it or leave it option. He is affordable on both sites. Little bit of premium contact upside, 3 home runs on the board, but an otherwise pretty empty slash line. Caratini can make good contact where you need catchers. That's kind of intriguing for 3,200. 1 home run this season, but he hit a handful of them last year. A dozen of them in 386 plate appearances while making good contact and getting more regular opportunities than we had seen in years past last year. Luke Keishel's off to a bad start, but he is a good player with a good hit tool, low strikeout, medium walk rate, a lot of balls in play. Brooks Lee, James Outman, kind of intriguing options down lineup. Brooks Lee has a very good hit tool that has not really come through at this level yet, but he's also hit 5 home runs this year. Kind of oddball home runs given the contact he's making, but they've gotten out of the ballpark, so a little bit of playability there. James Outman at 22-21 from the left side. Very interesting. Just don't love the lefty-lefty for him against Patty Corbin here, but a player who's got power upside, stolen base upside, and has shown it to us in the major leagues in seasons past. Definitely a very appealing, cheap option, and by the time they get down there, maybe they've chased Patty Corbin the second time through the lineup. And then the guy I skipped in the middle of the of things down here, 3,400 at a key third base, 2,900 at a key third base. 3 home runs on the board this year. Ignore everything else about that. Slash line over 76 plate appearances. We're hunting for some premium contact against the low-end lefty. 13.3% barrels, 44.4% hard hits so far this season. Mr. Royce Lewis, come on down, 7.68. You're the home run pick of the day. Despite that lower total, that was supported a lot by the game sim on Fangraphs, where he got a nice number in the 5% range. I wanted to pick him. I just didn't love that he was sub 10. But then I saw that and I was like, all right, we can go with that. So Royce Lewis, your home run pick of the day. I didn't use Byron Buxton, but I do like his chances a little bit better. Love the Twins upside here. Definitely a key ingredient in stacking for me today. Twins, Blue Jays. Wouldn't really play either pitcher, but honestly, if you are playing one of them, it's probably Patrick Corbin. Dodgers bats for sure against Matthew Liberatore. Nothing really to say about Liberatore. Kind of disappointing me right now. He's just cheap. 5,700. You'd just be hoping he gets through 6 clean innings. You're not getting a lot of strikeout upside. 1, against this lineup, but 2, also from that pitcher. You are getting a lot of strikeout upside from Emmett Sheehan. He's coming in with a 25.5% rate, an elite 14.6% swinging strike rate, going up against those Cardinals who, as we highlighted yesterday, 22.4% as a group. But once we pass those first 3 hitters, that's a calm down, dude. Joker's here to talk about Emmett Sheehan. That's a 25.9% strikeout rate for those 6 hitters. So that's a really intriguing spot for a young upside pitcher. He's only 8,700 on both sides. Love the upside for Emmett Sheehan. Could go bust. We know that the Cards have been a little bit frisky with Jordan Walker finally seizing his talent by the reins. 9 home runs, including 1 off Paul Skeens yesterday. 21.1% barrel, 59.2% hard hit. If I'm going to Cardinals against, give me all the Jordan Walker. But I'm pretty much looking to have mostly Sheehan. Maybe you grab a hedge stack or 2 if you're building a bunch of Sheehan. But I think he stands tall without it, and I don't think the Cards are all that playable. Dodgers bats, Shohei at the top. kind of stands alone, but very high price. Remember, the Dodgers not showing a ton of quality for value on either site. You've got some high price bats down toward the bottom in Andy Pages, Max Muncy certainly on the FanDuel slate. You're getting a great bargain on Max Muncy on DraftKings, though. Third base is a position we want to fill with quality. 4,300 is a great price to find a version of Max Muncy with 9 home runs on the board, a 287, 374, 594 slash line, 17.8% barrels. I think they were drinking when they made that price for Max Muncy. That is weird. Will Smith, by the same token, 3,800 on DraftKings is awfully cheap where you have to play catchers. That's a super talented catcher bat to find for that price, hitting third in the lineup, 12.2% barrels. 102 WRC plus, maybe some of the output down a little bit for Smith, but a 358 xWOB under the 323 actual. Those numbers are going to climb. You might as well be part of it as they do. Freddie Freeman's Freddie Freeman. Don't overthink it. Teoscar Hernandez, major upside for power from him, 8.92 in the home run model. Kyle Tucker does not suffer lefty-lefty at all, so don't sweat the lefty on the mound. If you're rostering Dodgers, Kyle Tucker should be a part of it. He's very cheap on FanDuel at 3,200. So even though the Dodgers don't necessarily show collective value, what you do have is a few really intriguing bargain spots of individuals. That's a great catcher one-off. That's not a bad combo if you just want to like 3-man those 3, 3-man these 3. Same deal with, maybe it's just not a 5-man build, but there is value layered in with the Dodgers today. Miguel Rojas, Santiago Espinal down on the bottom of the lineup, mix and match guys, even with Rojas off to a decent start. If you are rostering cards, again, I said not on the board, but that's not accurate. As a contrarian stack, as a hedge, as a maybe slight upside for a little bit of sneaky power for a fair price, they're at least through that lens somewhat on the board. I don't love the bottom of the lineup, the Mason Wynn, Nathan Church, or Mason Church, Nathan Wynn, whatever you want to call them. Pedro Paez, Victor Scott, not really all that appealing. A lot of struggling guys down that way. You do have 5 home runs on the board from Church. That is a lefty bat that you can throw up against Sheehan, but I'm not really homer hunting against Sheehan. So it's really about the top, and anybody who builds with the cards is going to be building through those 5 guys. So it's going to be pretty difficult to get it unique, even within a contrarian stack. You'll just be going along with everybody else who builds that lineup. Gorman would be a priority. He's awfully cheap at 3,300 for the power upside. There's also a ton of swing and miss in his game. I like Sheehan to go get Nolan Gorman a couple times. Weatherholt also homered yesterday against Paul Skeens. He's got 7 on the year now. The talent's looking very real. He's a low strikeout guy. He's also drawing walks. Top end of this lineup could give Sheehan some fits. If these guys come through, especially in the first inning, then maybe we do find the upside of the power bats in the middle here. But it's really going to be all about these 3 guys coming through for them. The low strikeout guys, the guys who know how to draw a walk. Feeds more up to Sheehan to me. I say it's Dodgers, Emmett Sheehan. Cardinals, man, wouldn't play Liberatore against the Dodgers. 550. We're not going to make 6 o'clock, but we'll get close. Stephen Youngtude loves the Yankees. Let's go, Yankees. Let's go. Mets can't get out of their own way. Yeah, that's the story of the New York Mets. Same with the Jets. That would be apt to say about what I said about the Jets also applies to the Mets. The people who should hate the Mets are the Mets fans. I don't know. They should be a big market, high spending team, but trying to outspend teams should not be the Mets way. They're too snake bit for that. Obviously, that means nothing. It's just silly baseball talk. Not really interested in either pitcher, but if you do take a pitcher at Coors Field, it should be Grant Holmes. That said, I don't think he's got the combination of stuff that you really want to chase in Coors Field. We'll see that more with like a Spencer Strider, Chase Dolan, or somebody like that. Holmes, 7,200 is just cheap. You'd be chasing the sub 5 implied total at 4.59 for the Rockies, but it's still a 4.59 total. You can see the somewhat limited power for the Rockies. It's really about those 2 guys. This was also reflected if you go look at the Fangraphs game sim for this game. All these other guys kind of knocked down the board a little bit. Even, your Troy Johnson, your TJ Rumfields of the world, guys who we think do have a little bit of upside for power. Everybody kind of knocked down somewhat. Grant Holmes has been okay at inducing weak and medium contact, kind of cutting into launch angle a little bit over the past couple of years, kind of been okay at limiting home runs. So part of it is him, 2.61 rate 2 years ago, 3.25 last year, 3.70 in some happenstance and 6 starts this year. It's not really his game, but I do think that is feeding a little bit of the downtick for Rocky's power. Still like either one of these guys for home run upside. If I'm stacking Rockies, both those guys are in most of my stacks. That's easily their two best bats. But I wouldn't sleep on Edward Julian against this pitcher in the leadoff spot. He's slashing 304, 396, 443 now, creating runs 25% better than average. You're welcome for trading him. 4,200, 3,300. Kills me that he started getting plate appearances right after I dealt. Rumfield at 36, 33. A lefty bat that you can definitely mix in for some power upside. 8.4% barrels. He's hit 3 home runs on the season. Coors Field lifts all boats. Going down the lineup, Freeman's a solid mix and match piece. Johnston has some power upside from the left side as well. Willie Castro has kind of normalized his numbers a little bit. 247, 318, 351. Just a 76 WRC plus. Still a ways to go to normalize that part, but he's starting to make better contact. 8.3% barrel, 43.8% hard hit. Still striking out at an uncharacteristically high 34.1%. Once he cleans that up, I think we see more of the base hits. Ezequiel Tovar is going to strike out an awful lot, but if he manages to connect, he can still drive the ball. Maybe a guy surprises Grant Holmes, probably more a double than a home run though. The Braves are the obvious spot, 6+. Going up against Quintana, you do not want Jose Quintana. 3 guys above 10 in the home run model. Definitely a spot you can chase. It is a little bit chasey with the prices where they are. 59, 58, 57 for Acuna, Baldwin, and Olsen on DraftKings is difficult to reach. You do get a price break on Ozzy Albies. We've talked about Ozzy, at least on DraftKings. We've talked about Ozzy and not being totally sure whether the resurgence is entirely real just yet. We're going to need more time on that, but he's been tremendous. I think the day I said that earlier this week, he hit his 7th home run of the year. It's been outrageously good. 150 WRC plus is second on this team right now. Olsen has tons of power. I'm not sweating the lefty on the mound in any way with Matt Olson at Coors Field here. Mauricio Dubon, Eli White, Jonah Heim, Jorge Mateo going down the lineup. Mix and match pieces all. Get a little bit of a lift from Coors Field. Everybody in that mix is affordable. If I'm playing Dubon outfield on DraftKings, second, third outfield on FanDuel is fine. Where I don't want Mauricio Dubon probably is shortstop, even with the Coors Field in the mix. Give me him and a better shortstop somewhere. Austin Riley, still struggling, still a believer. I think he figures it out, but it's difficult to see, and it's difficult to justify with anything that's on the page right now. You just got to have some faith. 47, you get a bit of a discount. 35, I think the sites still kind of believe in Austin Riley as well. It's a full 9-man stack, though. I mean, you can put these Braves together in any direction. Even if you take the 3 big guys here, what you're obviously doing is skipping Albies. You're probably skipping Dubon, certainly Riley, and you're getting down to this territory. I've already got a catcher, so that blocks me from taking Jonah Heim in that mix. But if I get Eli White, it's all right. If I get Jorge Mateo, I probably plunk him in as my 3rd outfielder in that group rather than putting him at shortstop. And that's at 46.20, so you're paying 4,700, but you're at least getting the 3 big bats. It's not the worst price in the world for Coors Field. So there are ways to get to it. Mateo gives you a little bit of ability as a wraparound guy. If he happens to get on, he could steal a bag. He could score you a run, get one of these guys to plate him. Kind of works. On FanDuel, the pricing is a little bit more of a logjam because you only get 4 of those guys and you're going to want 3 of them from up here. So you can't average it down quite as effectively. And they've got some higher pricing on like an Albies. Braves bats, Rockies bats. Grant Holmes if you need to, but I can't imagine why you'd need to. There's so many better options around that price range that aren't pitching at Coors. The Mets, the Angels. We love the power upside that the Angels are showing. Look at this. 2, 3, 4 guys above the magic number for the Angels. Neto, Trout, Soler, and Joe Adell. Big right-handed bats. They're facing a righty, but Christian Scott is a contact-focused righty. Going back to 2 years ago, had a little flash in the show. 9 starts, 47 1/3, 4.56 ERA with a 4.71 xFIP, allowed a 4+% home run rate despite the weak and medium contact because there was such frequency of contact on a 22.3 degree average launch angle. It equaled a fair amount of barrels. It equaled a bunch of home runs in the small sample. Sub 20% strikeout, 6.1% walk. Again, he's a locator, control command type specialist. Ignore the inning and a third over here. That doesn't mean anything, but it is a pitcher that I think we can target with some of these bats. He could maybe find his way to a handful of strikeouts if he's pitching well, which, obviously those go kind of hand in hand. But my point is these Angels are so free swinging at a 25% strikeout rate each of the last couple seasons with this group of hitters that if he's just out there for 6 innings, manages to avoid the long ball, I think maybe he does click together 5 strikeouts. Not major DFS upside, 6,200, 66. I think the downside is quite a bit greater than the upside, and I don't know that the Mets let him get into a sixth inning anyway. So take the Angels bats. The Mets bats more obvious at the 4.72 implied total. You've got Soto sitting at nearly a 15. You've also got Bichette, MJ, Alvarez, Beatty, Vientos, all these guys hovering near-ish to the magic number. Those are quality bats. Think what you will of a Mark Vientos. He's struggling to get out of his way to start the season. Pair of home runs on the board. Had a good day yesterday with a run-scoring double for us. Brett Beatty missed our home run pick the other day, but makes good contact at the plate. Two very, very affordable players. What I hate is doubling up first base. Plunking Beatty into the outfield, obviously, if we're going there, but it's probably a one or the other situation most of the time on DK. You get excellent multi-position eligibility out of both guys for a cheap price on FanDuel. The guy that people might sleep on a little bit from the top group here is MJ. 2,800, 2,700, good pricing. Hit his second home run for us the other day when he was in some of our Met stacks, and they disappointed otherwise. It's been a good source of barrels over time, good source of hard hit rate over time. Just struggles. A lot of strikeout in his game. Inconsistent, a lot of zeros from MJ. He's going pretty well right now, over 33 plate appearances. Let's just leave him alone, let him hit for a cheap price. If he's hitting third for the Mets in amongst those other hitters, I'm very interested in getting to that bat. Look how cheap all the Mets are. Even Soto at 3,300 is stupid cheap, but everybody else is 26 or 2,700. That's really affordable. They rated well for power. Going back to the board, 6 by projection, second by power by value. I said power. 6 by projection, first by value on DraftKings, third by home run rating. If we're just picking out of a bag here, it would be easy to say that the Mets are one of your top 3 stacks of the day. Down the bottom of the lineup, Benji's been terrible, but has talent. Semien probably saw all the best days of Marcus Semien long in your rearview mirror now. And then Ronnie Mauricio hasn't put it together at the major league level, but remains very, very interesting for the skill set. 60 grade power, speed, just needs to put the pieces together. Going to have a decent shot here against Wilbert Urena to do that. So don't sleep on Ronnie Mauricio for a very cheap price to fill third base, second or third base on FanDuel, and just wrap them back around to the top. On the Angels side, it's all about those guys showing the power. Those are your obvious spots. On FanDuel, you can just straight line through those guys. What that does to your lineup, though, is it puts 3 outfielders into your lineup. So it becomes a conversation about how do we put them together with some of the appealing teams that also have an abundance of outfielders we want to stack. On DraftKings, you got to make a bit of a choice there. Got Trout, you've got Soler, you've got Adele. That's all you're going to get. You don't have that util spot to use on, say, a Byron Buxton if you wanted to put the Angels together with the Twins. So some back and forth about how to stack this team together. No issues with leaving one of those guys on the side, though, on DK. Obviously, Trout, Neto are your 2 biggest priorities. Soler, with the way he's been making contact, 11.49 in the home run model, and the spot in the lineup, assuming this is the version that we get. I like the upside for Soler slightly better. The model likes Adele slightly better. Fangraphs Game Sims also like Adele slightly better. Right now, he's been struggling a little bit with the power output. 4 home runs and 139 chances. There's nothing wrong with the total, but it's a little bit lighter than we would expect. Right now, the barrels haven't shown up. 5.8% barrel compared to 17.2 last year. 11.7 the year before, 9.1 the year before that. Adele's fantastic. The price is down at 4,200, 2,900 across both sites, where Soler's at 3,700 is down on DraftKings. 3,300 is a little bit elevated / fair on FanDuel. So it depends where we're building and what we're looking to put them together with. But top end of this lineup, excellent. Moncada's a good mixer at third. Shanuel's not a terrible mixer at first, but I prefer to get a power bat most of the time at first, rather than the guy whose skill set is hit tool, get on base, low strikeout. Josh Lowe can give you a little something every now and again. Travis d'Arnaud, if he's in the lineup on DraftKings, that's awfully sneaky. Good source of barrels, premium contact, some home runs over the years as a backup catcher who's never popular and always comes in at a good price. Now you can go 1, 2. Let's say Soler. Let's not worry about the outfielder right now, and we'll just take the best options. Right? Neto, Trout, Soler, Adele. We can't put this together with Byron Buxton, but whatever. And Travis d'Arnaud. My average is 4,280 for those guys. That's not bad given the power that they're showing against Christian Scott here. Do like a lot of the Angels. Adam Frazier, mixer at second base. Not a bad option, though. I will go Mets bats, Angels bats. Just a ton of inherent value on the board with the Mets today. Angels, a little maybe less obvious, but very intriguing, almost equally intriguing, and really no love for either pitcher. Noah Schultz, 85.94 mentioned. This is just too expensive. Going up against a good enough Padres team, pulling a 4.40 implied total. Sometimes it pays to let Vegas do a little bit of the work for us here. I'm intrigued by the kid in the long term. He's a very top-end prospect, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, one of the top pitching prospects, excellent lefty. So far in the show, nearly a 29% strikeout rate, but too many walks in the small sample, 3.52 ERA, 3.95 xFIP. He's gotten away with it, and the quality's there. He's been limiting premium contact. 5.6% barrel is not at all problematic. It's excellent. 33% hard hits, 88.9 miles an hour of exit velo. He's inducing weak and medium contact. Everything about the pitcher is kind of in place. I just don't love targeting the Padres in this ballpark. Well, not on the ballpark. The ballpark's a pitcher-friendly park. It's really that total that's getting in my way. And the price at 94 on FanDuel. 85 on DraftKings is where I'm arguing with myself as I'm saying these words to you. I think we leave him on the board. I think we leave him on the shelf, and we don't get surprised when he ends up beating us. Padres bats against, though, I don't know that we take them. I don't know that 4.40 total really leads us to Padres bats. Tatis hasn't been homering. He's got none on the season, despite a 14.1% barrel, 64.7% hard hit. We've talked about this. He's just not pulling the ball. He's smashing it, but he's smashing it the other way and not over the fence. Once he starts pulling the ball again, expect it to travel. Right now, I don't know. Second base is great, obviously. Love popping him in at second base for the 5,000 on DraftKings. That's a playable second base one-off if you need it. Roman Liriano, solid mixer from the top, decent, but overall, probably just another outfielder. Making very good contact that does match his high-quality season from last year. Not a ton to show for it. 327 xWOB under the 332 actual. 112 WRC plus, though. He's been an effective run creator. Miguel Andujar for a fair price. Solid mixer in the 3 spot. Good hit tool. Should reset the table for Manny Machado. Xander Bogaerts, who's been hitting the ball squarely so far this season. Bogey has 5 home runs, 3 steals. Manny, 4 home runs. Some people were sounding the alarm bell for Manny's start, but it looks like he's rapidly pulling things together. Had a very good day the other day. We're up to a 6.5% barrel rate. That was a source of concern for a moment. Expect that to rapidly get back to the double digits with Manny putting the pieces back together. 323 xWOB under the 320 actual and climbing 103 WRC plus. Ty France, a couple of good games on the board this season. 17.1% barrel, 56.1% hard hit, 3 home runs in 48 plate appearances. Overall, that's not who Ty France has been. He's shown flashes of that. I don't know if it's flashes of trying to be a power hitter and then reverting to form or just minor outbursts in small sample blips. But every now and then you see stretches like this from France. I like him to normalize back down, but if I'm playing Padres, he's a reasonable option against the lefty. They're loaded 8 righties and a switch hitter today. Nick Castellanos mix and match. Freddie Finnerman, you get a little bit of hit tool, but he hasn't shown it this year. Bryce Johnson mix and match at the bottom. German Marquez, low strikeout, but a low walk rate so far this season. 4.38 ERA, but a 4.88 xFIP. 10% barrels, 47.5% hard hits, both over the threshold, but 88.4 miles an hour of exit velo. They haven't turned into velocity, but they've been fly balls and they've been clearing the fences anyway. 5.71% home runs is obviously problematic. He has had a couple decent outings in there in these 5 starts, but I don't think we're going to him even for the discount. Even against the White Sox team that can be extremely up and down, there's just enough danger here. I don't really want to tangle with Murakami. I don't really want to tangle with Colson Montgomery, even with both those players as aggressive strikeout options. Murakami gets on base all the time and should be able to exploit a walk against German Marquez if he's not just blasting the baseball into the seats. 4 guys above average barrel rates here. A lot of hard hit at the top of this lineup. Plenty of strikeout, but Marquez not exactly the guy who's going to go exploit that. So, yeah. I kind of lean bats. And there are some names we like. Benintendi's not really one of them, but he's cheap. He has been hitting the ball squarely. Nothing to show for it, which is odd. 72 WRC plus, terrible WOBA, terrible xWOBA, but squaring it up nicely. But it's not going anywhere. I think we start at Murakami, build down. Miguel Vargas is a fine mixer. Montgomery's a priority. Antonacci, if he's in the lineup, is super interesting. 3,200, 2,600 sites haven't caught up to the quality. 347 on base so far. Home run on the board, excellent speed, excellent plate recognition, going to be super low strikeout, but a decent enough walk rate to support high quality on base, high quality run creation. Chase Meadroth's been knocking the ball around a little bit. 11% walk rate to go with that. 257, 339, 339. Both those guys are going to be on base a lot. Both those guys have the ability to steal a base. Hey, your old pal Jared Kelenic here in the projected lineup. He's at the dead min price against Leonard Marquez. That's kind of an interesting bat. I know he's kind of struggled to pay off any of this, but solid barrels and hard hits over the past couple seasons in mixed samples. Last year it was only 65 plate appearances. Going back to 448 back in 2024, he hit 15 home runs. He was one of the few White Sox that was in the league that year. 11 home runs with 13 steals. Also a 253, 327, 419 slash line, which is not good, but it's also not completely terrible back in 2023. Rumors of Jared Kelenic being completely off of those years, probably a little exaggerated. He's just never reached that, one of the top prospects in baseball ceiling, and honestly, he hasn't touched the ceiling. He hasn't even been in the room or the house yet, but the talent is real. The ability to hit baseballs hard is real. And this is a pitcher who's not going to be missing his bat all that frequently. Kind of intriguing if he makes it into the lineup. Would rather have him hitting like up here somewhere though. Edgar Quero, Tristan Peters, mix and matchy. This probably does go Padres bats, White Sox bats, Noah Schultz, Edman Marquez. Not really interested in much of it, though. I just think we've got some misprices going on in the pitching. Guards and A's. We're very intrigued by the power and the offensive upside in this one. Jose Ramirez and Kyle Manzardo, even though he's been scuffling, sat out a few games recently, he's gotten awfully cheap. He's facing a gettable righty in a power-friendly park. Love the upside from Manzardo for power at a very affordable price that completely offsets the high price of Jose Ramirez. You just want those two in most of your stacks. That's a two-man average of under 3,000 that gets me to Jose Ramirez and their best lefty bat. And 45.50, it's a little bit more pricey on the DraftKings slate, but entirely playable. Stephen Kwan in the leadoff role. If we get the lefty, they're struggling with BABIP right now. That'll come around. It just puts too many balls in play for it not to. But up and down option, not the ideal way to get things started, but playable. Chase DeLauder, after that red-hot start with 5 home runs in 116 plate appearances, he's cooled the second half of those 116 opportunities. The power's very real, though. 9% barrel has come down somewhat. The hard hits have come down somewhat. Has a 228 ISO hiding in there. Has a 371 xWOB under the 364 actual. Kid's good. Daniel Schneemann, 3,400, 3,000. It's been very effective to start his year. 87 pretty good plate appearances, making good contact, cheap at second or third base, which is ideally where you want him for 34 on DraftKings. You add outfield and shortstop to that, but probably putting him at second or third if I'm rostering him on FanDuel. 166 WRC plus so far. 369 xWOB is quite a bit lower than the 417 actual, but it's still outrageously good and not nearly what we'd expect from Schneemann. That said, maybe we should have. Last season, in a moderate sample, 11.4% barrel rate. Wasn't bad. 422 plate appearances, hit a dozen home runs, stole 9 bags. It was just the slash line was entirely lackluster otherwise. Ana Martinez, Bo Naylor, mix and match guys there. Brian Rocchio's here for defense. $3,000 second baseman Travis Bazzana, though, 2,500 on FanDuel, not here for defense. He's also not here to go 0 for 8. That kid has a very good hit tool, should be a discerning hitter in the show. Just got here, one of the top prospects in baseball. Really interesting player. First overall pick a couple years ago, I want to say. 2 years ago? Yeah, 1-1 back in just 2024. So kids here pretty quickly. All the talent in the world. Definitely an intriguing piece. If I'm going to Guardians in a hitter-friendly park, that kid's a part of the plan. On the A's side, we know these guys, Nick Kurtz, Brent Rooker, Shea Langoliers, major upside for power from all three of those guys. Going up against the lefty, I'm not scratching anything off the board for Nick Kurtz. Both righties, I'm kind of surprised that we don't find either of these guys above 10. Short sample, somewhat, for Cantillo that includes some relief work that cut down home run upside maybe a little bit, but plenty of power in an obvious sense for those two big righties. Jacob Wilson in the right spot in this lineup to exploit his hit tool. That's a intriguing click together with the 3 power bats. He should be on base pretty frequently, even if it's just through batted balls. Darrell Hernaiz, Kobe Thomas, Zach Geloff, Jeff McNeil going down the batting order. Mix and match pieces. Geloff's got multi-category talent that over 38 plate appearances. We've got a home run, pair of stolen bases. Off to an okay-ish start, just kind of ignore a lot of that. What we're looking for him to reclaim is some of the batted balls. Solid for barrels and hard hits when he's been going right. It's just frequently out of the lineup. McNeil, just a slap hitter type. Tyler Soderstrom, 4,300, 3,000, a guy maybe we don't sleep on in the middle of the lineup. Relegated down somewhat at 211, 298, 404, 3 home runs on the board, but making his contact. Barrels are up, hard hits right about where they were last year. I think it's just happenstance that he hasn't found the results, so don't overreact to him being demoted down the lineup a little bit here with the lefty on the mound. That's also just product of lefty-lefty. A's bats. Wait, which way do I have this? A's bats, yep, 4-1 on FanDuel, 4-4 on DraftKings. Guardians bats. And really no love for either pitcher. I just don't like this ballpark. Both guys are competent. It wouldn't knock me out of my chair if either guy succeeded, and they are at fair prices. So if you need the discount on DK as an SP2, you're going to need to fade the ballpark downside. They've got just enough. Both guys can find some strikeout, even with Jin at a 19% rate so far, 27.2 on the other side for Cantillo. There's just a lot more downside that comes with going to this game. So like I said, with so much pitcher value on the board and similar looking guys at similar looking prices, you could just go around Sutter. There's no real reason to roster it. And then we wind things up with the best pitching matchup on the board. Cole Ragans against Brian Wu in the best, most pitcher-friendly park in baseball. Gotta love the upside there. You also get fed strikeout by both of these lineups right now. The Royals, that's an atypical strikeout rate at 23.6% for this group of hitters. They were 17.8 in a more fair sample last year, 21.9 the year before. Even if we're calling it around the 21.9%, the league average range, that's a little bit lower than what they might be doing so far this year. I do expect that to normalize, but Brian Wu can find strikeout against anybody. Right now, he has not been just a 19% strikeout rate for the year, but that comes against a 4.3% walk that keeps him elite no matter what. Last year, 27.1% strikeout, had a 12.4% swinging that's down slightly so far this year. I'm not concerned. I think it comes back. 21.4% strikeout the year before that in 22 starts as he was just getting things going. I like him to be above 2 years ago, but maybe we don't get fully back to the 27. 25 against a 4-5% walk rate, though, I think is where he lands. That's very Mariners. That's exactly what they're looking for. So Wu is the mold for this team, and he's just excellent. He's a good run limiter. Love the upside for him to find some Ks. Even if he doesn't find the strikeout, I like his upside to shut down a Royals lineup that's been scuffling basically all season. 3.26 implied, one of the lowest on the board. They do have a couple above average run creators, even in their struggles, though. Jack Caglianone's been hitting the ball very squarely. That's an interesting lefty bat. If we're going hunting for Brian Wu here, I would want Caglianone at the cheap price, 8.16 in the home run model in that lineup. The obvious guys up top, Sal Perez, 9.21. Even with some struggles, he's got 5 home runs on the board. That'll normalize, the slash line will normalize around the premium contact. 10.4% barrel for Sal is down. Still a good number, though. Vinny's really scuffling, but would probably make my lineups because he's gotten so cheap around the edges, and we know that he's much better than this. Even if he has a down year, it's going to end up better than this. 61-35 for Bobby Witt. Not unfair. The only Royals bat above the magic number for home run upside. He's hit 2 this season. He's also stolen 10 bags. Excellent run creator. Excellent ex-wobo under the surface, making great contact at the plate. Michael Garcia just fits a bunch of positions, is an excellent player across multiple categories. Love that option when I'm starting off a Royals stack. 44 at third base. I missed the multi-position over there, but at least that's the ideal position to put him in out of the 3 he plays on FanDuel. Carter Jensen for 41, 3,000, cheap for a little bit of power upside. 6 home runs on the board already, making great contact, but also a lot of strikeouts. There's a few guys in this mix that Wu could exploit the strikeout. These guys appreciably low strikeout. Collins, Massey, Isbell down lineup, mix and match type guys. You've got Cal Raleigh scuffling, but with 7 home runs on the board on the Mariners side. You've got Julio Rodriguez scuffling, but only 2 home runs on the board, carrying a 254, 329, 349 slash line and a .095 ISO. Ouch. 98 WRC plus, 90 for Raleigh. That's your problem, but those are also your 2 most important hitters if you're building a Mariners stack to go target Cole Ragans. I do get the idea of maybe grabbing some right-handed and power bats. You've got Randy Arozarena with an excellent on-base percentage, the ability to draw some walks here against Cole Ragans and the 15.7% walk rate that he's put up so far this year. but that's a blip. 7.9% last year, 8.8 2 years ago. Elite strikeout artist who put the pieces back together in his most recent start. I'm not worried about the Raggins bumps. I wasn't worried going into that last one, and we got paid off for it. If people are going away from Cole Raggins for perceptions of struggles, when he projects as one of the top pitchers of the day for just 83, 82, that is a spot I absolutely want to grab shares of. So love that. Love the upside for strikeouts against this team. When the Mariners are going wrong, they are striking out like crazy. You've also got a couple key hitters in this lineup. JP Crawford, lefty bat that's just looking to get on base. He doesn't strike out a ton, but he strikes out a little bit more than that 15.8% rate. Raleigh can be victimized. Julio can be victimized. Josh Naylor is very low strikeout, but he's been scuffling and potentially going to struggle against the lefty. Arozarena is the only guy that's been going right. 138 WRC plus. Pair of home runs, 7 stolen bases. He hasn't exactly been lighting it up for power from the right side, though. 6.9% barrel, down from 11.5 last year. But we've seen him go through dips for power output in the past. So it's not entirely surprising to see him kind of middle of the road with a 5.0, exactly halfway to the magic number in the home run model. Mitch Garver's got a little pop as a cheap catcher at 2,200. You could consider that for a few dart throw type one-off catcher shares. If you're building a ton of not Mariners stacks, if you're building a ton of lineups on DraftKings, $2,200 Mitch Garver might be able to turn on one for you. But it's an unreliable spot. And you're going to get a lot of zeros out of it as well. Young, Connor Joe, platoon specialist there, but not a lot to speak of in 15 plate appearances this year. Kind of a lost season in 80 last year. It's been a minute since we've seen any quality out of Connor Joe. Rivas just here for defense, really. Cole Young, mix and matchy. So this is very much pitching. I'm going to say it is Brian Wu, Cole Raggins. I guess Mariners bats over Royals bats, but really focused on the arms in this last one. And that brings us to the end. We didn't do too poorly. 618. Not exactly on target, but we'll be okay. There's your pitching board one last time. We showed the stacks board off a couple times. Love the aces at the top. Wheeler, Woo, Raggins with no daylight in between the three. Pick whichever one's your favorite. Pick whichever one you hate the least, the best price, the best matchup, guy you think will be lowest owned. However you put the pieces together, those three are excellent options. Love Sheehan against those potentially high strikeout Cardinals. Robbie Ray's got enough to give us, but I don't love the pricing by comparison to the rest of the board. McClanahan, remember, that's probably your ceiling in 5 innings. Will Warren, talented enough to pay off the FanDuel price. Like him better at the DraftKings number. Everybody else, some questions back and forth that we went through, but plenty of cheapo guys. Plenty of bargain bin options to throw. So I would say at worst, if you're building a lot of DraftKings lineups, diversify through some of these choices. If you're building one, even though he'll probably be popular for it, $7,000 Mike Burrows is probably the direction I go for that bargain bin on DraftKings. With that said, gang, let me get out of here so I can get the site updated. A little over an hour and a half. One of our shorter shows so far this year. You guys rock out there. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Discord is linked. It's entirely free. You don't need to be a subscriber here or at the website, but if you get a chance, check out rotoscouts.com. Under $1 a day gets you access to all 4 major sports, anything that hits that website at a minimum, projections for every single main slate, all this baseball content. For football, we load up content. That'll be here before we know it. Under $1 a day, weekly, monthly, quarterly plans all in. We'll start next week off. I'll build a promo of some kind for next week, but check it out over the week. I shouldn't have said that. Now you're not going to subscribe over the weekend. If you subscribe today, I'll give you something for fun. Tiz says, hat tip. Good luck out there, gang. Somebody go win something. Share those results at Rotoscouts on Twitter or in Discord when you do. Best audience in the industry. Have a great weekend. Go Yankees. And we'll be back on Monday for shows. Content all weekend long. See ya.